gooey cookies, crunchy candies, velvety cakes, and waffle cones piled high with ice cream. Is your mouth watering? Are you yearning for dessert? Why? What occurs in the brain that makes sugary foods so challenging to resist? Sugar is a broad term used to depict a category of molecules known as carbohydrates, and it's present in a diverse range of food and drinks. Simply check the labels on sweet products you purchase. Glucose, fructose, sucrose, maltose, lactose, dextrose, and starch are all variations of sugar. Likewise, high-fructose corn syrup, fruit juice, raw sugar, and honey fall under the umbrella of sugar. And sugar isn't confined to just candies and desserts. It's also incorporated into tomato sauce, yogurt, dried fruit, flavored waters, or granola bars. Given that sugar is omnipresent, it's crucial to comprehend its impact on the brain. What unfolds when sugar makes contact with your tongue? And does consuming a modest amount of sugar intensify your cravings? Picture taking a bite of cereal. The sugars it contains activate the sweet taste receptors, integral components of the taste buds on the tongue. These receptors dispatch a signal up to the brainstem, and from there, it diverges into numerous regions of the forebrain, including the cerebral cortex. Distinct sections of the cerebral cortex process distinct tastes: bitter, salty, umami, and, in our scenario, sweet. From here, the signal triggers the brain's reward system. This reward system comprises intricate electrical and chemical pathways spanning several brain regions. It's a complex network, yet it aids in addressing a solitary, subconscious question. Should I repeat that? That warm, comforting sensation you experience when savoring grandma's chocolate cake? That's your reward system affirming, yes. And it's not exclusive to food. Socializing, sexual behavior, and drugs exemplify other stimuli that activate the reward system. However, excessive activation of this reward system sets off a cascade of adverse events: loss of control, heightened cravings, and an elevated tolerance to sugar. Let's revert to our cereal bite. It travels downward into your stomach and eventually into your gut. And guess what? Sugar receptors are present here as well. They may not be taste buds, but they emit signals indicating to your brain that you're satiated or that your body should generate more insulin to cope with the surplus sugar you're ingesting. The predominant currency of our reward system is dopamine, a pivotal neurotransmitter. While numerous dopamine receptors populate the forebrain, they aren't uniformly dispersed. Specific areas house dense clusters of receptors, constituting these dopamine hotspots as integral components of our reward system. Substances like alcohol, nicotine, or heroin propel dopamine into overdrive, prompting some individuals to perpetually pursue that euphoria, in other words, fostering addiction. Sugar similarly induces dopamine release, albeit not as dramatically as drugs. Additionally, sugar is an anomaly among dopamine-inducing foods. Broccoli, for instance, elicits no response, perhaps elucidating the challenge of coaxing kids into consuming their greens. Speaking of nutritious foods, let's posit that you're hungry and decide to partake in a well-balanced meal. You do so, and dopamine levels surge in the reward system hotspots. However, if you consecutively consume the same dish, dopamine levels will incrementally diminish, ultimately plateauing. This phenomenon arises because, concerning food, the brain evolved to accord special attention to novel or diverse flavors. Why? Dual motives. Firstly, to detect spoilage in food. Secondly, as a diversified diet augments the likelihood of acquiring all essential nutrients. Sustaining this diversity necessitates the ability to identify a new food and, more crucially, the desire to persist in consuming novel foods. Ergo, dopamine dwindles when a food becomes mundane. Now, revisiting that meal scenario, what transpires if, instead of a wholesome, balanced dish, you opt for a sugar-laden alternative? If sugar consumption is infrequent or in moderate quantities, the effect mirrors that of the balanced meal. Yet, if excessive sugar intake occurs, the dopamine response fails to stabilize. In simpler terms, consuming copious amounts of sugar persists in being rewarding. In this vein, sugar behaves somewhat akin to a drug. It elucidates why people seem ensnared by sugary edibles. Hence, contemplate the myriad forms of sugar. Each possesses uniqueness, yet whenever any sugar variant is ingested, it triggers a chain reaction in the brain, eliciting a gratifying sensation. Excessively, and with regularity,